Welcome to the Ron and John Show, brought to you by Veterans Lending Group, and I'm Ron.
And I am John. This is the Ron and John Show. Hey, at the Ron and John Show, we're known coast to coast like butter and toast. We can make ISIS surrender a guy or make even the nerdiest guy look kind of fly. We can drink like we've been singing all night long, and we can sing like we've been drinking all night long. So if you're looking for a good time, don't you delay. Tune into the Ron and John Show. Me and this Ranger, we lead the way. Boom!
And we're back. Boom.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another fascinating Ron and John Show, where I am Ron.
And I am John. And, you know, we got a show today that we've got just a freak coming on the show today. So, brother, we had to come armed. I had to get my E-tool, my Indonesian battle axe. I see you got the tomahawk. We're ready for war, man.
We're ready. We're ready for him, brother.
I'm with you, man. And
I mean, somebody with that physical strength that, I mean, we'll get into that, but we had to come armed. Go ahead, brother.
But hey, you know, and I also, you know, you never want to, if today is your day that you got to go, you want to have at least have a cold beer before you go, right? So
absolutely.
How you been, brother?
Good, brother. You know, just coming off of another fantastic week. It's been, you know, a little dreary here in the state of Washington, but you know, we continue to get after it. You know, the sunshine above these clouds, and obviously staying. You know, part of this is especially in the weather of these times, and really, let's put it out there. Getting into these holidays is tough for a lot of people to stay positive. But again, staying physically, mentally, and emotionally tough, getting out there, motivating others. That's what I've been up to, man. Yeah. How about yourself, brother? What's been going on your end?
Well, you know, same thing, man. Just train hard. First of all, you know, we got our Ron and John Show T-shirts in.
See that? Yep. You know? I got to pick mine up tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
We're rocking, you know, and then of course, it's got my saying on the back of it, you know.
That's right.
You know, we're known coast to coast like butter and
toast, baby.
Yeah. But so now I'm really fired up because I got my Ron and John Show shirt on, and here before long we'll start giving these things away, you know, to folks and everything. Yeah. But yeah, I've been, you know, after being sick and having to deal with you know, everything of being sick and then the environment we're in, being able to get after business and everything has just been great, you know, and being able to, you know, do the things that I normally like to do, you know.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So everything's been good, man.
Well, you know, that bounce back is real. It doesn't, you know, keep you down for long at all.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, one of the things I saw as you were, you know, coming back and, you know, well, increasing the load on your workouts, we'll say, you know, it's like, you know, and that's what's needed and required, you know, and I can't help to think that how many times have we been to, well, every unit that we go to, they try to crush us. Well, specifically you, the old man, right? By proxy, I die too, but we hang in there. And I'm just trying to think here, like we've been to seen a Marine, but Stalker don't count. We PT'd his ass, but
yeah, he's a purple guy now, man. You know, he's yeah. But you know, it's so important, Ron. You know that our health is so important, especially nowadays. And you and I continue to talk about this. You know, especially during this, you know, pandemic that's going on. Our ability to look out for our health, boost our immune system, you know, build our cardiorespiratory system and our strength, you know, and everything. And then being able to execute prudent risk. I mean, you and I have been traveling through this pandemic, and we do what the rules tell us to do, you know, in terms of masks and social distancing. And in the end, if all of that doesn't work and you still catch the virus, don't panic.
Don't panic, right.
And trust in your immune system. Do what the doctors are telling you and everything. But the key to all of this is living that healthy and fit lifestyle that will promote a more robust immune system and allow you to combat not only this pandemic, but other, you know, the flu and all these other things as well.
Yeah. And to get back to what gets back to what you always say is be prepared and not scared, right?
Be prepared and not scared, man. And, you know, and in the end, if bad things happen, just don't panic. Work your way through it. And I think that's what Team Troxel did, you know, for the 3 weeks that we were, you know, all of us were kind of flatlined here, except for Sandra. You know, the little windmill was the strength through this whole time, you know.
Of all people.
Yeah, she was, you know, all over it and everything. But, you know, I'm excited, Ron, about the show tonight because the guest we have on here, when you talk about someone that, you know, kind of personifies everything that is good about our nation, that is served in the military, and that is promoting what we've just been talking about. This guy that, you know, is just someone that I admire. And not only do I admire, the guy's got like 500,000 followers on Instagram, you know, the same on Facebook and Twitter. He is just a phenomenal dude. And I'm excited to get him out here today, man. Yeah, brother. And I've seen, you know, some definite feats of strength, and you and I have seen people do some crazy stuff, especially, you know, under stress, you know, adrenaline's flowing and everything. Yeah. But to see someone like our guest just do the things that he does with his body, with his mind, you know, there's a lot going on there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what, you know, what makes all that work, what makes it tick, what creates that drive. Yeah. So our guest this evening, you know, is a Marine reservist. The guy is a former American Ninja Warrior competitor ×2. He is a world record holder for the most pull-ups in 1 minute, and we're going to get into that here after a while. And if you ever look at this guy's videos on his social media sites, he is just an example for all to follow in terms of not only how to be fit, but body control, complete, you know, core strength, the internal body armor that we talk about that is needed in our active duty members and all of our warriors in the military, but more importantly, in our veterans as you continue to get older and everything. And the guy, he is not someone that has just had everything beer and Skittles. He's been through some injuries. He's been through some adversity, and we're going to get into that. And I'm excited to have him here tonight, man. So what do you say we bring him out, man? Let's bring him out, brother. Let's tell everybody who we got. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marine Sergeant Michael Eckert. The man is here. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot. I will say one thing. I just got promoted to staff sergeant, so.
Oh, all right. There you go.
Congratulations. Hey, you know that 6 cases of beer to the Ron and John show.
It sure is.
You know, right?
Yeah, and you know, postage paid too. So, you know, none of this cash on delivery or something. You know?
As long as I get one of those shirts too, you know.
Oh yeah, you're in, brother. Easy. We're gonna get you one of these. So, Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Just
thanks for taking the time, brother.
Staying warm in Florida, you know.
Yeah, I know, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah. Hey, so I mean, we're gonna get into a lot of what you've done, you know. But first of all, get our audience, you know, get them who they need to know who you are. So talk to us about where you grew up, kind of, you know, were you an athlete in high school, and then why you chose to join the military, but more importantly, why did you pass the Army recruiting station and go into the Marine Corps station and enlist, you know? So tell us all about Michael Eckert, man.
All right. So I am a Florida native. I grew up here my whole life. I played pretty much every sport you can think of. And that did lead to why I joined the Marine Corps, because I never stuck with a sport. So I was a pretty natural athlete, and I just enjoyed the thrill of competition. So I bounced around from sport to sport. Never really stuck with something longer than 2 years, but I just enjoyed playing sports and being like moving around and hanging out with friends and being competitive. That was just something that was instilled in me really young. And I think it was through my dad, because he was an old Army captain, and he built a pull-up bar in the backyard when we were really young. And my brother and I, he was a rower in high school. We used to go back and forth to compete to see who could do more pull-ups. And that's where like, maybe I developed some strength then, but it was more of like, again, the competition thing. Yeah. And, but yeah, I bounced around from sport to sport and never really stuck with anything. And I was serving waiting tables at a restaurant, and I was like, what am I doing with myself? I was going to school for a degree. Sorry, I'm getting a weird phone call.
Not today, ISIS.
Yeah. It was through my computer too. That was really weird. But yeah, so I was going to school for mechanical engineering, and that was my biggest thing. Was I'm really good at math, but it's not something I necessarily enjoy to do. And just because I was good with it, I was kind of taking the easy way, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so I saw myself. I was just like projected myself, because I was waiting tables, and I was going to school for a degree I didn't enjoy, and I was like doing the bare minimum, and I was like, man, I'm going to be locked into this degree and locked into this profession that isn't really going to bring me any joy or anything like that. And I was like, how can I take a step back from life and reevaluate what I'm doing as well as take a step forward? And that's why I started looking into the military. And I was like, you know, my dad was Army military, an Army captain. My brother was infantry in the Army. So I was like, how do I one up these guys? So I joined the Marine Corps. But yeah, I went to the recruiting office. My dad went, and what appealed to me about the Marines was the obstacle courses, and that just appealed to my competitive nature. And I saw, like, that was pretty much all I saw the Marines doing, and I was like, I want to do that. So that's what kind of led into that, and I think it had to do with my like passive natural athleticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say you're passive natural athleticism, I mean it started a while back, and it can't help to think that, you know, looking at that obstacle course kind of was reminiscent for the you know, Ninja Warrior, right? Which your second time, right? So I think we have a clip we want to pull up real quick, and then we'll jump into that. Yeah, let's see what that is.
Oh,
hey,
look at that guy.
All right.
It looks like you're hijacking curtains there, man, from a dang movie theater. What's going
like
on there, brother?
Aerial yoga, right?
Pretty much. You can think of it that way. And you have to swing from curtain to curtain and get across the water. So
now, was this the first one or the second one here?
That was the second one, because I was comfortable enough to remove my shirt, so it had to have been the second one. I was like, I've been here, I've done this before, I could take the shirt off. Well, actually, I took the shirt off because there was a cargo net before this, and we saw somebody right before me hit their shirt touched the water because it was too baggy. And so I took my shirt off right before doing that obstacle because I didn't want that to happen to me.
Nice.
Hey, now, what's up with the Seattle Seahawks colors there, man?
That's right. Loving seeing that.
Unintentional.
Were you road tripping with a bunch of Marines and some crayons melted in the back? It just kind of, you know, that's how it happened.
Pretty much. I think I was fueled on crayons at that point. Yeah.
Nice.
So, talk us through, you know, what was the motivation to get after the first American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah.
And if I understand right, you weren't even in the military when you did the first one, but this one here, you were in the Marine Corps, correct?
Yeah, the second time I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
The first time I remember I was sitting on the couch in this living room, and we were watching it on TV. And I watched like the Japanese version a long time ago, and it was just a cool competitive sport that you could watch on TV. Yeah. And I was sitting in the living room, and I just pointed at the TV, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. And they're like, yeah, shut up, you know. Like, I'm like, when I'm old enough, which was the following year, I was like, I'm gonna try out for that show. I'm gonna compete. And I try to back up what I say, so as best I can. And one of the things that fuels me is having some pressure on me, or having somebody say nah, or pass it off as like you're not serious. I kind of like just go into silent like assassin mode and work and grind and kind of prove them wrong, even though it's like they were just not taking it seriously. It was like, if I say I'm going to do something, I just go out and I do it. And so the next year, I got a call back from Ninja Warrior, and they're like, hey man, we'd love to have you on the show and try out. And the first time being on it, I had the 5th fastest time in the nation. I made it to the Las Vegas finals, and I've fallen on the same obstacle 3 times now. And I'm like, I just need to get through that thing. But you know the obstacle where you jump on a trampoline and you hit 2 walls?
Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I've fallen on that 3 times.
Yeah, that's not fun. I've done that down in Retama Park in San Antonio.
Yeah.
On the rig they have down there, the Alpha Warrior guys have down there.
Oh, nice.
And that thing is tough, because the minute you get up there and you try to put your hands and your feet out, for me, my feet would automatically slip out from under me. And next thing you know, I was dirt diving in an alfalfa patch, man. So
the first time I did it, I had never tried it. The first time I was on Ninja Warrior, I never did any practice, never did any of the obstacles or anything like that. I was just applying these functional fundamentals that I've developed over time, and like, okay, I'm going to attack this as best I can. And when I got to that obstacle, I remember, because there's a bunch of cameras and you can't see it when you're watching the show, but there's like hundreds of cameras and lights pointed all at you, and you're just like kind of overwhelmed. But I was looking down the 2 walls, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I know I can't do this. I was like, but I'm on national television, so I gotta try. And so my first attempt at it, I'm kind of glad they didn't air it, because it looks like I jumped off the trampoline just into the water. I didn't even like try to go on the walls, but I had completely psyched myself out. And then that's the reason I fell the first time. The second time was I just like hit it weird, and I had the anxiety from the first time. And then the third time, you know, it was raining or something, and the plexiglass was soaking wet. So I just not had a good run with that obstacle.
Yeah.
So the second time you're in the Marine Corps now, how did that work out in terms of you know, letting your command know that you were going to do this and everything?
So it actually worked out really well. I had a master sergeant who I was never, my thing is I joined the Marine Corps when I was 22. So I was a little bit older, a little more mature, and I could kind of handle stuff. And even though you were a lower rank when you join, you kind of accept it, and you're like, okay, I'm going to rise to the occasion no matter what the occasion is and whatnot. So I was never known as somebody who was kind of like, AKA a shitbag, you know what I'm saying? So, and so I wasn't notorious for that. So I set myself up that if I did get an opportunity, I could take it. And so I got the call back for the Ninja Warrior, and I talked to my master sergeant about it, and I had a pretty good rapport with him, nothing negative. And so he goes, let's give you some PTAD for that. And PTAD is what it stands for, free leave, basically.
Yeah, temporary duty.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, they gave me 10 days of PTAD to go do it. And because of the contracts and stuff with Ninja Warrior, you're not allowed to like disclose anything. But I kept him on like the main line. That way I could, you know, let him know what's going on. He gives me a call on the way back from the competition. He goes, are you going to need some more PTAD? And I was like, yes, I'll need a little bit more PTAD. He was like, all right, good to go. And so he gave me like an extension on that. And that, because obviously he knew I needed it because I made it to the finals. And so that's kind of how all that started. So I set myself up that if the opportunity of anything presented itself, I could rise to the occasion, and I didn't have anything kind of limiting me.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, since we're on the obstacle courses, then I read somewhere also that you have the record of some Marine Corps obstacle course that you ran through without even looking. You just were like, yeah, I got this. And
yeah. So I was at sergeant's course in Okinawa, Japan, and we went by the PT field, which has the Marine Corps obstacle course there. And next to it, I'd never seen this before. It had Sergeant blah, blah, blah record time, like base record this time. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, I've done faster than that. Like just training on an obstacle course. And I was like, I went up to the staff sergeant. I was like, hey, can I attempt this record while I'm here? Because I don't think I'll get another chance. He goes, absolutely. He's like, this record's been here forever. And because it was like a metal sign made out of ammo cans, and it was like all dusty and everything. I was like, let me try for it. And the weird thing is, the next morning, they didn't tell me any of the standards or anything like that. The next morning, it was like 4:45 or whatever. It was pitch black, and it was barely lit. I have like a really like nasty, gritty video of me doing it because one of the other sergeants it, but it's like you can't see anything. And there was no warm up. It was freezing cold morning, and I had like been telling people, I was like, I can do this for sure. And I'd been training, and I gave myself the confident boost where I was like, I can do this. I've done it before. I ran through it, and I went sub 1 minute, and the record before me was like 1:17 or something like that. And I fell on one of the obstacles too, because it was pitch black, so I couldn't really see much. But yeah, it was again one of those things where it's like, I'm gonna do that. And then there was a lot of people being like, yeah. And so they just lined up every sergeant. It was like 40 different sergeants, and then all the staff NCOs and me. I was the only one doing the PT course. And I went through it, and the sergeant major wound up writing me a nice letter saying, give me an award for doing it. So that was good.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're in the business of breaking records here. And, you know, you set the record for the most pull-ups in 1 minute, 50 repetitions. And I think we got the video of it here. Vic, if you can pull that video up, let's check out Michael here in this video.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Man, I've never seen a Marine do so many straight pull-ups like that.
Yeah,
those ain't no CrossFit pull-ups.
No, they are not. There's no kip in there. And what's going through your head right now? You're just like nice and calm and just kind of knocking them out, or
are you talking about me watching this or me at the time? Because right now I'm mad at
both.
This. I know I can do more. I know I can do better than that, but because I've done better, it's like looking in the past. I actually haven't watched this video since I like posted it, so this is kind of interesting.
Nice, good.
If I were to be coaching myself right now, I'd be like, "Get back on the bar, you little bitch!" And like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was like, "You could do more." You know, it's all in your head at that point, because.
One more.
Yeah.
Look at that little guy. Thank you. That's good.
That is awesome. What
you know?
Go ahead, brother.
So what was the intent to do 50 at that time, or what was the record at the time?
43, I think.
43. Wow.
Yeah. So it's, I look at all this record breaking stuff as pushing the human potential. I think that's what my bigger goal, that's what my biggest thing in any type of training is. Like, and it might be a weird tendency that I have, that no matter what I do, it's about, you know, pushing us as a human race to the potential. Like, you know, if it all goes back to the mile, right?
Yeah.
The 4-minute mile was never broken until it was broken. And everyone, then all of a sudden, everyone started breaking it right after that. So if you can, I mean, the record stood for a long time before I did 50. And then all of a sudden, everyone started doing 50. And it's like, maybe they could do it before, but they never tried, or whatever. However that growth happens, I feel like it comes together as soon as you start pushing yourself to like whatever that human potential is. And that's where I want to be.
Yeah. And understand that here in the future, you're going to try and break the record again.
Yeah. So my main focus now is the most in 24 hours. And
wow.
That'll be next. It'll probably be in May timeframe, May and June-ish. But that's what I'm training for right now. And my biggest downfall with that is avoiding injury. Like, I gotta, once you get to like a certain point, you really have to be smart with how you train, because obviously imbalances form when you start to spike in any direction. So it's like I have to do more push-ups to counterbalance the pulling strength, because it's just your body likes to work in harmony. And the more, I mean, I'm doing like sets of 1,000 pull-ups at a time to train for this. And obviously there'll be certain areas where I'm more predominantly built in my lats and my biceps. And then when you have a muscle imbalance, it naturally causes a muscle to be tighter. So you're more prone to pulling a muscle like on the opposite end because it's tighter. And so it's just being smart and trying to avoid injury at the moment.
Yeah. And so, you know, with that, like, as we're talking about building that stamina, building that strength for competitors, I think we have another video here. But what is it like, you know, is there it's not just pull-ups, right? I mean, it's pull-ups, it's the mindset. Oh, here we go. We got you showing off at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on?
What are you doing here, Marine?
Exactly.
You know?
That was the Marine Corps ball.
Yeah, so. I can imagine. Look at all these ladies down there, you know? I mean,
look at them. They're just...
By the way, are you married?
Oh,
by the way, my fiance took this video, so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was before I knew she was going to be my fiance, but yeah, she was the one filming, so it was good.
So you're in your blues twirling around on a bar, in a bar at the time.
Yeah. It was good. That's kind of all that stuff, like the fancy looking stuff, is all like a byproduct of just naturally pushing yourself to a certain point. Like if I'm focusing on pull-up strength and I'm able to do thousands of pull-ups over a pretty restricted amount of time, like you get strength benefits that you can apply to other things that are just cool. And I mean, that's how, unfortunately, you grow on social media, as you make highlight reels of your stuff. It's not necessarily the raw content that people want to see. It's like, what's this cool, entertaining thing that, you know, I mean, and it is and it isn't, but, you know, over time I've realized that like people want to see cool stuff. So that's the reason I've gained traction on social media, is I post stuff like that, you know, which is a byproduct of the stuff that some people say what they want to see, but like, who wants to see a video of me doing 1,000 pull-ups? So And I mean, people, you're like, man, I really do, until you watch 3 minutes of it and you're like, all right, yeah, I don't want to watch this anymore. You know what I'm saying? So,
hey, speaking of that, just recently you put a video on Instagram where you did 800 pull-ups in under 80 minutes. Now, when you think about how you're going to do that, what kind of routine are you doing? How many reps are you doing before you take a break? How do you figure all that out to make sure you hit the goal?
The interesting thing for this transition into volume training, because I've never done this much volume before, is it's causing me to experiment, because there's no guideline. You can't look up how to break a world record for pull-ups online, right? You kind of just have to make your own stuff up. So, and I like involving my following, because you can stray a little bit here and there. So I made a bet. It wasn't a bet. It was like more of like a choose one. I'll either do 500 pull-ups in sets of 5 or 800 pull-ups in sets of 4. And then whatever the time comes out of that, that's just a learning experience for me. And it's a fun way to bring the audience involved. And you realize who the sadistic people are through your audience, because they always pick the higher number no matter how many sets you do. And but yeah, again, it's just an experimental thing where I'm just trying to see, because there's until I get to that goal, I have nothing to relate it to. So I'm doing a lot of experimenting right now. And again, it's avoiding injury. Like right now I'm injured. My middle finger exploded while I was rock climbing the other like a week or two ago. Like literally I was just climbing and I was holding onto a rock and pulling on like this. I mean, a fake rock, it's indoor climbing, but through my headphones I heard like a snap, and I was like, I just immediately knew what had happened, because it's happened once before. And luckily it wasn't too bad, but it's still stopping me from doing any of the training at the moment. But
did you hold on, or you just
I immediately let go. I let go. I didn't talk to anybody. I knew it happened to me one other time. And I was like, I'm an idiot, because I didn't warm up. And what happens is with rock climbing, like I'm trying to use that as the functional thing that I bring all my training into, like legs, arms, all that stuff. But the thing is, I'm climbing way out of what I should be climbing, and I should be smart about it, because I'm pulling on stuff that's so small, and I have been neglecting my finger training, because my pulse training is like, I can pull off anything. I can do one arm pull-ups. I can do all that stuff because of all the pull training I've been doing. But as soon as you pull on little tiny things and you haven't been training your fingers, that's how injury gets out. And I knew it too. I was taking a risk. I just need to pay attention to that sort of stuff. It's nothing that's going to like hold me back for that long, but I've been resting for about a week now, and it'll probably take another week or two before I can get back to it.
Yeah. Hey, Vic, I think we got a second part of that last video. When Michael's outside, he's in his blues again. Can we pull that up, please, and show him just when he's not showing off for the ladies this time, you know? But yeah, here we go. What's up here, brother? You just decided, I'm in my blues. I'm just going to go outside, get on this pull-up bar, and get after it.
That pull-up bar was actually the pull-up bar that started all this Instagram stuff or anything like that. Like that pull-up bar is right out of our shop that I worked at in Japan, and every day I would just take my buddy and be like, hey, like take a quick video of me doing some of this stuff. And so it just developed into me doing weird stuff on the bar just a little bit each day. And I think that's just how it gained traction from there. And it was just, I mean, you see, I have a big smile on my face. I'm just having a good time. Like, it's just fun. You know?
Hey, so another guy that, an Army guy that is kind of got the same kind of meteoric following that you do is a guy named Diamond Ott. He's a Army Sergeant Major, and I know you know who he is. But the things that are similar to you guys, and then as we look at the way the military is going, the Marine Corps with their human performance programs and the Army with its holistic health and fitness programs, it's all to get after this functional strength and everything. And if there's one thing, you and Diamond have different body shapes, but one thing that is similar is both of you, a pull-up bar is kind of the foundation for your training and everything you do. And I think that's the secret to that core strength, as I call it, internal body armor, between your core, your lower back, your hips, your glutes and all of that, that comes together. Is that, because I never see you doing any kind of bench, squat, or deadlift. You're always doing some kind of functional training. And sometimes I think you sleep with a pull-up bar at night, brother.
So it's funny. And unfortunately, we're going to roll back to the misconception that social media puts out there. I'm putting out the highlight reels, the stuff that I enjoy doing, what I'm used to, because one of the things I hate about social media or creating videos is the time it takes away from the actual work that you do. So as long as you can have fun with it, and it's something like cause I loved Instagram when it was only 15 seconds long. Like now it's like, it becomes, you got to edit videos and do all this stuff. It's like, I used to be able to just make a 15-second video, post it, and that was it. And I mean, it's good. It's good that it's doing it. So there's blessings for it as well. But all this, I bench, I squat, I deadlift. I do all the fundamental stuff that you would think when you train, like for functional aspect. Like I can deadlift over 500 pounds without using wrist straps. And it's like, I do all this stuff in conjunction with a spike. My spike is definitely with pull-ups and pull training and obstacle course training. But I still work on the fundamentals, especially with squats. Like, I mean, I don't look like it, but I could squat 350 pounds. I'm not going for any squat records here, right? But it's a functional aspect that I feel like is extremely important. And but again, it comes with the illusion that I'm not doing that because of social media. It's like nobody really, and I've been doing it long enough to know the algorithm and know the analytics of what videos do well and what videos don't do well. And that's how you run it as a potential business, if that's what you're looking for with social media. And you have to look at what works. And if I'm posting all these squat videos when I'm not necessarily going for like a squat record, that would definitely obviously do worse than if I were to pull like a video where I'm doing cool pull-up workouts. And I mean, that's just how it goes. But yes, I do all the regular workouts. I weightlift, I weight train, and but it's all behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about a lot of the physical here, you know, what it takes to get there, you know, physically and training with that discipline. But there's also the other side of you know, PME hard, is that mental and emotional side. And and as John says, you know, life isn't always beer and Skittles, right? And there's usually something that's burning, that's behind, that's that drive, right? And so, you know, we talked about that a little bit before, you know, for prepping for the show. But if you could share with the audience, what is your drive? Why are you doing all this stuff, and what is it, message is it that you're trying to get out there? So
for a while, I was just kind of filling a void of just, you know, what to do next. I don't really feel like for a while, there was no like any deeper meaning to any of the stuff I was doing. I just felt like it was a waste of time to not apply myself to something. Like I was always taught, like, you should be striving to become better than you are today. And whether I would close my eyes and walk forward, that's still better than I was yesterday. But it didn't develop into something with deeper meaning until like I had a chain of significant events happen in my life where so I used to train with this guy. His name was Sergeant Tyree Green, and he was my best friend in Japan. And him and I used to train together all the time. And we used to talk about these like crazy concepts for the future of fitness and like my functional strength and the stuff that I do. And he was never really like the funny thing about it is like, and I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, is him and I were a very large contrast. Like I was always this, like, again, driven mindset, focused, make sure you're getting this shit done attitude. Like there's a mission to be done. There's an objective to get there, and make sure you get it done. And then I started inviting this guy, Sergeant Tyree Green, to the gym with me because he's my friend. And I was like, man, you should go to the gym with me. You know, it'd be fun to have an accountability partner. But this dude didn't take anything seriously. And I wanted him to like take it seriously. But there was a moment where he would crack a joke and it would take me out of that mindset. And I was laughing my ass off, like dying laughing. And we were still getting the mission done. So it was like this cocktail of, he was kind of disarming me in regards to how seriously you need to take your training. Because I used to think that like, if you didn't take it seriously, you weren't going to have the end result where you wanted it to be. But he brought this kind of enlightenment to me where it was like, no, you don't have to take it that seriously, and you can still get the better half of it. Like, so you can enjoy your training as well as you don't have to take it as seriously, and you'll still get to the end result. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that until after the significant events happened, which were when I was transitioning off active duty. I was texting, I was like, hey man, we're going to open this gym. It's gonna be great. And I was like, in the meantime, I'm going to train for this Ninja Warrior competition that's coming up. And I went out to this competition and I fell out. It wasn't even like I felt invincible coming out of the military, and I went on this obstacle that was like 14 feet in the air, and I was super strong at the peak of my level of fitness, and I was like, I can do anything. Didn't even check to see if there was a pad below me, and I pull this obstacle over in a way that was not designed. And you're supposed to put like one hand here or whatever. Didn't know that. I just muscled up to the top of it in this like weird, like you're not supposed to be up there manner. Like I shouldn't have been in that position. And I pulled it and I fell 14 feet onto the concrete, and I like bounced, and that was the first time I ever had a bone break, and I smashed my wrist inward. So it like crinkled my wrist up like that. And cause I fell in the seated position. And so, I'm trying to piece it all together and not lose my bearing here. But
you're good, brother.
So I broke my wrist. That was, I was okay. I was like, life's kicking me in the balls, but I'm okay because I have my friends and my family and everything. And then I'm at home. I'm all drugged up on whatever they give you to take away the pain, and I'm like, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. And then I get a phone call of one of my other best friends, and he's bawling his eyes out because Tyree had committed suicide on a deployment. And yeah, and it was one of those ones where he had to have had something going through his mind. And to me, he was like the happiest person ever. Again, he was the guy who would crack the jokes and all this stuff while we were working out. And, he always seemed like he loved life. And to hear that news, I was kind of like, I didn't believe it at first. And then all it did was ping pong back and forth between now. I was like, the guy I had a plan to open a gym with and like pursue this passion for fitness and introduce this functional fitness aspect to the world, as well as now I can't even work out, which was my biggest stress reliever because of my broken wrist. I was just sitting in my house for about 18 hours a day when I was awake because it's hard to sleep with all that pain going on. Yeah. It was to the point where my hand would start to do this. And because the VA transition in healthcare was pretty rough, I couldn't go see the doctor right away. So I actually had to take a coaster and duct tape it to my hand to keep my hand from naturally closing. So I wasn't sleeping, but either way, I was just staring at a wall for like 18 hours a day in pain and like, well, I don't have much to do anymore. Like this is, I'm pretty checked out. And one of the references that I always use, and this is not like necessarily the most macho or military term, it's I don't know if you ever seen the movie Frozen 2. And I know that's kind of weird.
I'd probably get my ass kicked by my friends if I admitted that.
So,
you got grandkids, you could help me out.
This is where the transparency comes in, though.
Yeah.
Because I think the metaphor is really good. There's this metaphor where they're at like the bottom of this cave and she's lost, everyone, whatever. And she's told to basically do the next right thing. And I know how that, it's a Disney movie, whatever, but that's the best thing I can relate it to. That's actually tangible, because nobody could tell me what that next right thing was except for myself, and I couldn't even tell myself. I would just have to put one foot in front of the other and be like, okay, this is where I'm going to go next. If it's 10 steps today and 12 steps tomorrow, at least that's what I feel like the next right thing is. And so I kept doing that and kept stumbling over. I couldn't really relate to anybody because I was so lost, and I couldn't really talk to anybody. I couldn't, no matter what anybody did, I was just an empty shell. And you just kind of blindly stumble over and over and over until you work your way out of it. And there's no linear path to it. I can't tell somebody how to do it, but again, that next right thing is the best metaphor that I've come across that can relate to what I went through, because I had to figure it out for myself. And it's good to know people are there for you, and that definitely helps. But just trust your gut and be like, it's gonna work itself out. This is your journey, and you gotta keep going. And I think that was the most important thing for me.
So I think we got some pictures of your wrist, man. Vic, if we can pull them up just to show the audience kind of what you were going through then.
Yeah. Wow.
I laugh because
Look at it. Well, there's where you said, you know,
Oh,
yeah, where it's kind of doing the U-turn and everything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bad part about it was in normal wrist break, it's fine. Like it's one of the most common breaks, but I had fallen from such a height that you see how it goes up into my palm there. You can kind of see
Yeah.
it. A
yeah.
normal wrist surgery
Oh, yeah.
stays lower than your palm. But what had happened was, and this was one of the biggest hits for me because grip strength is something I pride myself on, was the first surgery they went through. It was a normal reduction where they put the bone back in place and they sew you all back up and you're good. But I had so much nerve damage in my palm that they had to go in and do a second surgery because I was on the verge of having a heart attack. Like I was going into cardiac arrest because of the pain
Yeah.
and all the inflammation that was happening in the internal nerve, that they had to cut the tendon in my palm right here. And that way it relieved the nerve pressure. But they told me the reason they didn't want to do that was because it would permanently reduce my grip strength, like mechanically speaking. Like it's not something you can train. So that was something I was like, now I'm not only going to be, you know, recovering for a long time, but I will never be the same again. And so I was like, that's a heavy hit because, you know, I just broke the world record for pull-ups. I was planning on doing more with that, and now I can't even hold on to a bar.
Yeah.
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 So, Michael, you know, unfortunately, I dealt with a suicide this week. My communications NCO in Afghanistan and in Korea took his life. But one of the things, you know, Ron and I do a lot working with our veterans and trying to combat, and you and I both are working with FedOps to, you know, to assist in getting after this problem and everything. One of the things I've noticed with a lot of folks that I've worked with, and I will tell you, I had a battle buddy of mine, you know, that I had a great phone call with him yesterday, Jason Kramnick, and brother, I know you're watching, and I owe you a call back, and I'll get back to you. But one of the things I've noticed with a lot of veterans is here they were in the military, they were serving with purpose, they were physically fit and everything, and a lot of guys that I deal with now that could be in that gray area now that are veterans, they've let themselves go physically, and which leads to more, and then they may have relationship challenges, they may have money challenges, there may be alcohol and drugs involved there, but this loss of physical prowess, physical kind of health has led to mental and emotional challenges for some of these folks, and certainly with you know, Dustin Morrissey, my NCO, I think that had something to do with it. How important do you think that is, even post-military service, for people to maintain that kind of fitness just for everyday life?
I think it's the fundamental factor. I mean, health and wellness isn't just physical related. It's like it's a 1-to-1 ratio between, you know, how well you're doing physically is how well you're doing mentally. And if you're stacked in one area, you may be doing amazingly mentally and then take a dive physically, but then all of a sudden you're not doing so well mentally. You just go further and further down the scale. And my biggest advice, because this is coming from a guy who's trying to break world records, trying to be, you know, the top dog when it comes to certain levels of fitness. But what I've realized is I have to rationalize that when I talk to people, because I used to come at them with this, like, go after it, get after it, don't settle for anything less or anything like that. But there's a point where you need to step out of your own shoes and relate to them in a way where it's like, you know, first thing, go for a walk. You know, start with the basics, because I used to take people to the gym and slaughter them, where it was like they were sore for a week, and I thought that was awesome, and they thought it was awesome until they tried to maintain that, and it was like it looked cool in the beginning. Oh man, I worked out with Mike and it was this freaking awesome workout and I'm sore as heck. I'm not doing that again next week, you know?
Yeah.
And so like it's ass backwards when you think about like the motivation, because motivation might be high, but you still need to maybe notch it down to the point where it's like start from the basics, build the foundation, and then, you know, whether or not, and not everyone has the same sort of drive. So it's like whether or not they carry that to a standard which allows them to get through daily life and handle things on a physical manner, and it helps them out mentally, then that's huge as well. Because I mean, we can be motivated as heck and turn somebody off the idea of fitness just as fast. So
yeah.
You know, Mike, with all the obviously you have a lot of plans and big goals, one of them being the, breaking these records. But aside from those physical feats, what other goals have you set for yourself now, as far as, now that you're, a veteran, you're a staff sausage now. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
But for some of the smaller things, maybe is it something that you do day to day, week by week, that you can break it down in bite-sized pieces for advice for those that are watching?
One of the big things for me is to not take myself, I have to constantly remind myself to not take myself too seriously, or anything for that matter. Like, if I go a day without training, it's not the end of the world. If I fall off track for a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Like, I used to be, I am the most hypercritical person of myself. Like, I will look in the mirror and be like, you're a piece of shit. You need to get your act together, that sort of stuff. But in the end, like, that's kind of ass backwards. Like, I feel like foundation building from yourself, like, be self-supportive and be like, okay, we fell off today, but we're going to get back at it tomorrow, and be encouraging rather than, I used to get in the habit where I was just like completely demeaning myself. I was like, and there is a point where I'm doing pull-ups. I'm like, you little bitch, you need to keep going. Like, there is, it's frequency.
Never go away.
You gotta hit these frequencies, but if you hit them in the right pattern, then you'll skyrocket. But again, like, I feel like one of the biggest things for me was just to not take myself too seriously, and start with that. Yeah.
So, Michael, so what's the future look like? We know you're a reservist now, but what else are you doing now? And besides training and all this, what
well, I'm getting married in July next year. So
boom.
that's a big milestone for me. I love you, Emily. Shout out to you.
Smart man.
Yeah, she's watching right now. But I think for me, and this is going to be a little bit weird, and I've never been this way before, but I'm trying to be more proactive in a spiritual sense. And I don't want to go down that road or anything like that, but a way of fulfilling the meaning behind stuff and why I'm doing it. And I don't necessarily have all the answers right now as to like why I want to do all these pull-ups or why I want to do that. But I always try to take a step back and figure out what's the motivation behind it internally, because that allows me to really drive home. Once you kind of like find out the reason you're doing something, you're like, oh man, all right, now I can get behind that, And once for me, there's no clear understanding of like what exactly I want to do. I want to continue pushing my body because I only have a time limit on how long physically I'll be able to break these records. And so I feel like that's anything that's time sensitive, I want to, do smartly and get while I have the chance. But I think ultimately just trying to develop into a good person over time is difficult enough to think about. So
yeah.
So
on that goal.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, it's just, to piggyback off what you said on the spiritual side, that's, one of the things we talk about as well as the functional fitness side, but spiritual fitness. And that doesn't necessarily have to, mean a religion side or anything like that, but it could also mean, finding your why. What is that for you? When you wake up, is it, what is that little voice in your head, or what is that big voice and stuff? And that's, one of the things I think, especially with veterans and finding ourselves, it's so cliche, but what is our next thing? What's going to make us want to get up and with their hair on fire and really jump in and execute on something? And as that's kind of difficult to find. And I see, with as many veterans as I've worked with, and I'm sure you've seen too, is that part's kind of missing, and how we, I don't know the answer to this. It's a discussion, is how do we get better at, or how do we influence what that is when we ourselves are trying to navigate that, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've realized with that, taking a step back and realizing where you're coming from is, one, it's important that it should only be, you're looking at yourself and no judgment. Like, you're looking at yourself and trying to explore that. But I think a lot of people, what they do is it's a scary place when you dig deep inside yourself and you're like, you're digging deep and you're trying to figure out what makes you tick, it's a scary place to be, because if you dig too far, you might lose yourself in a way where it's like, oh man, am I freaking crazy or something like that? But I think a lot of people skip over that. And that's so important to dig deep and really try to figure out what makes you tick, because if you don't, you're just building on already a tiny hole, but over time that hole becomes bigger and bigger and you don't realize it at first. But that if you don't build the proper foundation, it can make everything else collapse. And again, it's a scary place looking deep inside and being like, I got to figure this out. But put the time and effort into digging deep inside yourself and figuring it out. That way you don't necessarily, I mean, it's always good to check in and look back once in a while, but you don't have to look back and try to explore that avenue because you've figured it out. And I mean, it's not like figuring it out, but like at least you explored that avenue and you're building from a place that's familiar, and you can create a good foundation off of that. I think that's what I'm trying to do with myself right now. Like just the little things, exploring like what's the motive behind it, because it could be superficially like, it looks awesome for everybody else to see me doing this awesome pull-up thing, but is this actually something I want to do, or am I just putting on a show for everybody?
Yeah.
And ultimately, I have this driving compassion that I just, again, it roots back to that trying to push the human potential as far as possible, because maybe I'm the one to break that 10,000 pull-up mark that's never been done by humans before, and all of a sudden now everyone's doing 12,000. But I don't mind being beat. I just want to be a part of the process and getting us there.
Yeah, just to end that point, with what happened to my comms NCO this week, I've talked to a lot of people, and one guy I served in combat with had some struggles, and multiple times he had a firearm in his mouth, and he was under the influence of alcohol. And I asked him what finally got him through, and he said, my faith. And kind of what you were describing, Ron and Michael, what you kind of described. And he found himself, and now he's a completely different person than he was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. He's still dealing with those demons and those invisible wounds, but he's found a way to cope with it now. So, Michael, one last question before we hit you with some rapid fire, okay? Hey, people are going to watch your videos. I know I do. Every time I watch a Michael Eckert video, I get fired up. I run out onto my dang single rack gym box, Beaver Fit, and start doing pull-ups. But there's some people that, are going to watch your video. They're going to get motivated by it, and they're going to run out and get on a pull-up bar, and they're going to end up looking like Leonard Lawrence on Full Metal Jacket with Gunnery Sergeant Hartman tearing into their ass. What advice do you have someone that is looking to get in shape? You kind of talked about this earlier with kind of the get with the movement, get out and walk. But what advice do you have for people that are looking to get in shape and they look at you for inspiration? What advice do you have for them?
My notion, another thing that I like, one of my sayings is make other people's impossible your warm-up. I want to make stuff that people can't even conceptualize right now at their level of fitness, being like, man, that's impossible. But he makes it look so easy that maybe there's a chance I could do something that's close to that. So that's kind of like where I want to be with the level of fitness that I have. And that's just maybe that's just a selfish way of looking at, like, I want to be one of the best, so whatever, but that's how I justify it. But I think it's important to find where you fit, and don't just necessarily look at me and be like, I want to do pull-ups, whatnot. That may be really cool, but I started by playing sports, I wasn't lifting weights when I was in high school. I wasn't lifting weights until I really got into the military. And so, and I know a lot of people don't know that, but find what is fun to you. I told you I played sport after sport after sport because that was fun. A lot of people go to like Orange Theory. A lot of people do CrossFit. A lot of people there's so many avenues of fitness. You just got to experiment. And I think it is scary because even as an elite athlete, I go to a CrossFit gym that I've never been to, and it's intimidating. But it's weird because after those 2 sessions, 3 sessions, if you go to the right gym, you find the right spot, because you don't have to necessarily stick with whatever that you try. It's an experimentation for a reason. You rip off the Band-Aid, you go, and a year from now, let's say you're staying with it, you'll be amazed where you wind up. And it's because you started to enjoy it from the bat, or right off the bat. So I think it's important to kind of experiment with, this, again, the next right thing. I can't tell you what that is, but find out what it is for yourself. You kind of just tiptoe into it, put your toe in the water. I didn't like that. Next thing, didn't like that. Oh, I'm just going to go for a walk with my dog. it's not too bad. And then it slowly develops into a jog, and it slowly develops into other stuff. So it's enjoying what you do is the fundamental aspect for me, or
Awesome.
where I think people should go.
That is awesome, man. Yeah. Well, we've got, looks like rapid fire time. We've got
All right.
the producers popping it up here. You know what that means, Mike. Well,
Yeah, we're gonna hit you.
you're about to find out in short order.
I know. Hang on. Let me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So let me go first. So, Michael, you're an elite athlete. You're a Marine, but what I love most about you is that you're a humble guy, and you're down to earth, and you talk to people. So there was a time a few months ago that the Veterans Lending Group, the sponsors for our show, the Ron and John show, we were doing Zoom PT sessions, and Ron and I and Victoria, and we had some ROTC cadets on there with us, and we invited you out, and you came out and did PT with us, man, and we threw the jump rope on you, man, and had you doing 5-minute sets of jump rope and everything. I gotta ask, man, and integrity is your watchword. Did we dent you at all, man, for that workout? Did we put any kind of scunion on you?
If you told me to bring out the jump rope one more time, I would have had to open the Bible to try to figure out what was going on, man. Because that was where I really found spirituality, is through that workout. Because and that's the cool thing, because I do a lot of pull-ups, I do a lot of whatever, but exploring the different avenues of fitness, like, it's still going to break you off. I mean, you had me do jump rope, like I said, too many times. And so I was saving time with the transition from exercise to exercise,
Boom. All right. Now we feel good, man.
Well, when John says we're going to do about 10 seconds of calf stretches, because we're going to use them. He's not playing.
That's the warm-up.
That's the warm-up. Since we're going to be using our calves a lot. Like, we sure are. Well, man, my things are always around food. So, I mean, you're fit. You're sucking on a beer here and there. As well as my brother John back there. When you go, and I don't know what your diet looks like, but I know that a guy like you probably like to eat. What is your go-to cheat meal? I'm gonna slaughter this, and what is that? And would your wife agree?
Oh, absolutely. She can answer it right now. It's a large white Italian sub from Firehouse, and
oh wow,
I've actually had to tell people to stop taking bites, because I will eat like half of the sandwich in one setting. And my buddy is I didn't even realize how much I was eating at one time. That was my favorite meal as a Firehouse sub, by the way. But he was the only person to ever look at me, and he was encouraging me to, and it was subliminal. Like, I was just eating it normally, but he was like, dude, you can take another bite. Come on, keep eating it. And I had this giant, like, chubby cheek freaking amount of bites in my mouth. And I was like, yeah, I need to slow down. I'm just enjoying this too much. So Firehouse subs all the way. That's the kryptonite. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so good.
All right. So Michael, you're a Marine. You got to meet the Marine fitness requirements and everything. So I assume perfect score on a CFT and a PFT, right?
Ooh, did you like
former American Ninja Warrior competitor, world record pull-up holder, and you're telling me you're not maxing both of them?
Oh, that's painful, because 297 PFT was my fastest.
Is it was it the run or the crunches?
It was the run every time.
Okay.
I ran like an 18:10, like almost every. It was just that breaking that threshold for the run. And the worst part, I mean, the thing is funny, because if I hold myself to such a high standard that I wouldn't tell a single person how to run better, because I could not max the PFT. And that's just how I viewed it. I was like, if you can't max it, there's somebody out there that should be teaching how to run, not you, because you suck. And so 18:10 for 3 miles at a 6 minute, or 18:10 is not bad, but since I didn't max
6 minute mile,
yeah, but it's not, because it's not a 300.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where I was like, again, overly hypercritical with myself. And I was like, you suck, even though I was like 10 seconds off maxing. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've jump rope together. I know where your cardio's at.
Good question, though, because because that one threw a curveball at me.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, it looks like we got one more minute. All right. So, all right.
What do we
You've
got?
been through to many Marine Corps balls, I'm sure, and because now or let's go with birthdays. What's the craziest thing that you can publicly divulge that you've done on a Marine Corps birthday?
And that stuff on the video doesn't count. All right, brother. And all the ladies clapping for you. No, that doesn't count.
I want to sum this up as best as possible, but I used my social media leverage to convince my now fiance to come to the Marine Corps ball. She drove 13 hours from Tennessee,
Woo!
all the way down south, because I invited her in a DM on Instagram. I said, "Hey, you want to go to the ball with me?" Because I just got back from the field. I was like, I need a date for the ball, and I thought it was gonna last like a day or so, whatever. And here we are, a few years later, getting married. So that was probably the craziest thing I've ever done, because nobody saw this coming, and so now I couldn't be more blessed with that, though. I think it's awesome.
That is great. Hey, John, that's what you call slipping into the DMs,
right?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, brother Michael. Yeah, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to be on the Ron and John show today. Hey, and the other thing is, thank you for being an inspiration for so many. I will tell you that even this old warhorse hair, and me and Ron, we look at your videos and we get fired up, and we're all fighting father time, and I'm a lot closer to the end than probably you guys are, but seeing guys like you do what you do and how focused you are physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually, it's just an inspiration. And so thank you so much for being you, man.
Thank you so much for having me on this. And what my dad always used to tell me was, none of us are getting out of here alive. So
that's right.
I mean, live it up while you got the chance.
That's it.
Yeah, man. And yeah, man, thanks so much for taking the time and really sharing, the other side of you. A lot of people see, the blips on the social medias and the good stuff, but it's really good to break it down and for people to see why and where. And I know 100% that it resonates with both John and I. I also had a similar situation on what drives me to do this, and with obviously the what's going on isn't stopping as what happened with John's buddy. So, but thank you, man, for sharing, for opening up. Man, you are a true inspiration, and we truly appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go Army, beat Navy. I know the one day out of the year that you will claim to be a part of the Department of the Navy.
I thought we were done.
Yeah, we're not completely done now. We got to hit on the outro, but we do have to shut it down because I'm getting that wink from our producer. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's Ron and John show.
Thanks,
we will
Mike.
catch you all next week. Mike, thanks a lot. Have a great one. We'll catch you all next week.
Boom.
Boom.
The Ron and John Show is brought to you by Veterans Lending Group, where we can assist you with all your home buying and refinance needs. Since we're licensed in all 50 states, we can ETS, PCS, or retire wherever you go. Check out our education classes at VAHomeLoanBootCamp.com for our free classes, and you can also visit our website at VeteransLendingGroup.com. Make sure to follow The Ron and John Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Hey, folks, we hope you enjoyed our guest this week.
Thanks for tuning into the Ron and John show, and we'll see you next week. Woo!